Hello, hello. Welcome to another live Q&A. I'm very excited to do this with you today. And again, much appreciation for all of you for joining this community here on YouTube, for checking out my work, my content. We are growing day by day, and it's so exciting to watch, to witness, and to manifest. Now, I honestly haven't prepared anything for this live video. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about. So I thought the best would be just to tune in to intuition and see what would be relevant for you right now. In the meantime, let me know where are you watching this from, and you're probably at this point watching the replay, so let me know in the comments where you're watching this from, just as well, because it's always fun to see people all around the world tuning in. Now let's connect a bit and see what would be relevant and fun to you in this moment. Mm. Hmm. What's coming through is the illusion of self. What we self-identify as being the self. And realizing that the self is not just one fixed aspect of reality, it is a spectrum, a variation of frequency. And the fact that you are connected to multiple selves at the same time, multiple parallel selves and multiple selves in one singular reality. Or rather, timeline instead of reality. This might produce anxiety for some, understanding that what they define to be as the self, that there is no such thing as a fixed self. It might produce a lack of certainty, but it is not a reason for anxiety. It is a reason for celebration, because at any given moment you can connect to a self, a preferred self, that is the master of one's reality. Meaning you can always rise up the scale of vibration from a very dense vibration to a very light, flowing vibration that shifts from one reality to the next, mirroring more and more of what the soul prefers, what the true soul prefers. That's interesting. That's a very interesting topic, in the sense that the self, the soul, this is something I heard Bashar say in terms of free will. The definition of free will, basically, when we come into this life as a soul, we have a theme that we want to explore: the theme of the healer, the theme of the warrior, the theme of the magician. Basically, it's aligned to a specific archetype, the theme of the king, whatever that archetype is for you. And free will is basically when we are taking actions in accordance to that theme that we chose to explore at a soul level. The things that we prefer come to us effortlessly. There is less and less resistance towards not being any resistance left at all. And on the flip side, when we are choosing, when we are making choices contradicting that theme, or further away we go from that theme, let's say you have the theme, you've chosen the theme of the healer, and yet you are kind of making choices in the theme of the warrior, you are experiencing more and more resistance. So basically, free will, in the sense, is that you can always choose actions that are not aligned with the true self, with the true theme. But by choosing those actions, you are actually creating tremendous resistance on your path, and basically more and more of what you do not prefer. So how do you actually align with this theme? How did you tune in with it and take more action that is perfectly aligned with that theme, reducing resistance automatically? It's in your heart, it's in your intuition. A lot of people say, well, I don't really know what my purpose is. It's not true. I don't believe it's true because when I was 18, my dad asked me, where do I want to go to college? And I said, I don't know, right? AKA, I don't know what my purpose is. But the fact is, I did know. I loved martial arts back then very much, but I didn't believe I could make a living from teaching martial arts. And then years later, I opened the first personal development through martial arts school in the world, right? Later, I wanted to coach people. So if somebody would have asked me, what do you want to do? I would have said, I don't know. It's like I'm confused. I don't really know what. But my intuition said, hey, you should explore this coaching theme. But I didn't believe people would pay me for this. And then years later, they did. And years later, again, I felt this confusion in terms of who I was as a coach. And my intuition said, hey, you're more of a healer. You do very well in the metaphysical, you should embrace this metaphysical aspect of life a lot more and talk about it, teach it, master it. But I felt tremendous resistance in my head because of my beliefs, again, because of my own judgments, thinking that, hey, people will not take me seriously. People are not interested. They're not going to tune in for this, right? And then years later, that's exactly what happened. So because life loves us, and I see a few people tuning in live, let me know where you're tuning in from. I always appreciate that. It's always fun. Let me celebrate you for being part of our community here. So, because life loves you, your intuition will always nudge you towards the thing of effortless life, the effortless experience where there is no resistance on your path. So, regardless of what your beliefs are, saying, hey, that's never going to happen. I don't think I can actually make a living from this, or, I don't think other people will see the value in it. It's always going to be this voice in the back of your head, or rather in the back of your heart, that will say, hey, trust me, you got this. This is your way. This is your path. You don't need to understand the how. You just need to trust me, your intuition, your higher self, your guidance, because I got you. I see things better than you. I believe in you more than you are believing in yourself right now, right? So life loves us, and many times the resistance that we are feeling or we are encountering is because there is a different path. So this path that we think from our physical mind that we should be taking, and yet there's so many blocks ahead of this path, because again, life loves you, saying, hey, this is not really your path. Just trust me. Go on this other path, even though you don't believe that this is the path of least resistance, but it's congruent to your heart. It's congruent to who you truly are. Just trust me. And then once you start, you test it out, you try it out, and then you realize that there's so much less resistance on that path. You realize that you're being so much more yourself, your true self, on that path, and it's just so much more fun and exciting, right? And by the way, guys, let me know if my audio is clear right now, because I'm not sure. I'm using a different version of going live right now. I'm not exactly sure how the audio is going out. Let me know if you can hear me clearly and properly. Beautiful. So is this making sense so far, right? It's always, the physical mind, um also known as the ego, likes to pretend it knows what is best for us. But how can it, with a limited perspective? Because the only job of your physical mind is to experience what is happening, in a sense, right now. How can it know what is best for you if it is extremely limited? The physical mind is horrible at predicting the future, and it's horrible at recalling the past, because sometimes, like with a negative filter, you're going to realize that you are recalling events in your past that just prove that you're not good enough. But that's not true. There's yin and yang to life. If there's a lot of events in your life that show that you're not good enough, there's equally a number of events that show that you are, right? But because the mind is set to be to have more of a negative propensity, it will recall all those events that say, "Hey, you screwed up so many times, you're going to do it again." It's horrible at being objective and calculating what was in the past to predict the future, right? Because also the reason why it's horrible is because the future can take a huge leap from where you are to where you will be in a week. Anything can happen that will drastically change things for the better, right? It's the land of possibility. I was listening to one of Neville Goddard's speeches talking about, you probably, if you follow Neville Goddard, you know this story. But this guy was looking at a building, and all of a sudden, this guy, he said, "Hey, you want to buy this building?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't have any money." "That's okay. I have money. Um, I'll just give you the money, and you give me a percentage of whatever the profit, or the appraisal of the building, or whatever that may be." But the thing is, the guy for 2 years saw the name of his family on that building. He didn't know what would happen, how it would happen, but he just projected his name, the name of his family, on that specific building, and that was actually Neville Goddard's brother. The future can take a huge leap from one week to the other, provided that you have fed your subconscious mind with the projections of the future of what you prefer, and you trusted that somehow it will work itself out, right? So seeing that you can have these tremendously huge leaps from one week to the next just by visualizing, just by staying in a high vibration, how would the physical mind be capable, even like mathematically speaking? Because in this case, 2 plus 2 isn't 4, 2 plus 2 is 4 million sometimes, right? But it's 2 plus 2. It's not an addition, it's an exponential curve, right? So it's 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2, and so on and so forth. Why would you ever trust the physical mind to predict your future? It's okay, right? So give the physical mind its love, give it its safety by saying, "Hey, it's okay. We don't need to know how it's going to happen." The how will actually slow things down, right? Knowing the how or thinking about the how will actually slow things down. It's okay. Let's just enjoy life. Let's just enjoy the now. Let's just choose a state of gratitude and happiness for what is. Why not? If we're going to live this life anyway, right? Why not just be in a state of enjoyment, a state of, hey, this is beautiful. I choose to love every second of it. Wouldn't you rather live that way? You know what I mean? Looking back, when I was working as a waiter and doing, in college and stuff like that, if I would have chosen to enjoy the moment, because I had to do the job anyway, to finish college, you had to work in hotels. I studied hotel management, so I would work in room service. I would wait tables and sometimes even do a bit of reception work and stuff like that. But instead of hating every single moment of being an employee, which thinking back, I realized it just produced more and more resistance, more and more of, doing the stuff that I hated. If I had known what I know now, maybe I said, hey, you know what? I have to do this stuff anyway, right? I cannot avoid it. So why not just make the best of it? Why not just choose to wake up and say, hey, thanks so much for the fact that I woke up today. Thanks so much for water. Thanks so much for having a bed to sleep in. Thanks so much for food. Right? I'm so blessed. I think my life would have hit that exponential curve upwards, right? Because of our fluctuation in states, something good happens, you feel good, something quote unquote what we label as being bad happens, we go down, something good, and basically our average is kind of like this, and that's why life doesn't really change. But when we treat everything as a positive, like everything what we would usually deem as a negative, we say, hey, where's the positive in this? There's always a positive, right? Every coin has two sides. right? So we just flip the coin and we see the positive, then we're actually on that exponential curve. And the beauty of an exponential curve is that for a long time you don't see much, right? It's kind of like kind of a bit like a straight line, and then you reach that critical mass point, boom, it blows up. Just like Neville Goddard's brother. He visualized that for 2 years, not much happens, and then bam, all of a sudden this guy shows up and hey, I can give you the money, right? Why not? That's how it works. I was listening to this analogy today. Like, I'm not exactly sure. Please correct me on this because I'm not sure if it's a bonsai tree or a different or a bamboo tree. But the analogy was bamboo trees take like 5 years to create a foundation. You don't see any growth for 5 years. And then all of a sudden, year five, it just blows up, right? If that's true, I haven't verified this, I haven't fact checked this, but if that's true, then the bamboo tree is living an exponential curve. I've listened to Elliot Hulse, right? Huge YouTuber, not so much these days, but back when I was kind of deep into personal development, he's a fitness influencer. I think you should Google or search him on YouTube. Very powerful content, very inspirational. And he was talking about this when he reached 1 million subscribers. And he said, are you willing to make videos consistently for 5 years and not see a difference and then all of a sudden blow up? If you are, you got what it takes. I'm not saying your manifestations will take 5 years. Some manifestations will, depending on how rigid your beliefs are around that topic, right? But a lot of them won't. A lot of you're going to start seeing miracles, actual miracles created in your life, show up in your life. It's not going to take 5 years. Some of them like are going to be extremely fast. And here's the key, right? The less importance you put on something happening, the more it's like, hey, because I noticed this, like when in my first year of college, I really, really wanted because I'm in Romania. My college was in Greece. My parents were paying $5,000 a year for that college, which was a lot of money for my parents. Um, and it was like this, like the first two, depending on your grades, the first two wouldn't need to pay any tuition, and the second two in the class would pay half of tuition. I was like I think I was third in the class or something like that in year one. So I put so much pressure on myself to study and be a great student. I wasn't a very good student in high school, and I needed it so much. I was so scared, so rigid, so terrified that, oh my God, my parents are gonna have to pay this amount of money, and I'm gonna be a bad son. I'm gonna be a failure if this doesn't happen. So I worked really, really hard, and I didn't get one of the first two spots. I stayed at third place. So basically, it was kind of like, what we were talking about before. Something good happens, you feel good. Something quote unquote bad happens, you don't feel that good, right? So I stayed kind of in the same lane. But in my second year, I started training martial arts, started in the sense of getting my instructor's degree. I was trying to build this multi-level marketing business. I was in a relationship, so I had all of these things I was juggling, and somehow school just was more to the side. I just pushed it to the side. It wasn't that important anymore. I didn't put that much pressure on myself anymore. Guess what happened? I got second place, and I didn't have to pay any tuition in my third year of college, right? Simply because I wasn't obsessing about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. It's the car key law. I made a video about it on my channel. Whenever you lose your keys, you look for the keys like crazy, and then all of a sudden you give up and you say, hey, I don't know, they're lost. And then a few hours later or the next day, they just magically appear. That determines the speed of your manifestations. the more you obsess about something, that it has to happen or else, the more you slow things down. Because what's happening, and again, because life loves you, what's happening is you're placing importance on something external. You're putting your power on something external. If I don't pay tuition, I'm a good son. I haven't failed, right? If I make this amount of money, I'm a good entrepreneur. I'm not a failure. You're putting your power outside of you. And every single time you do that, every single time you forget you are the source of everything that is happening in your life, that you are experiencing right now in your life, life will bitch slap you in the most beautiful way and not give you the thing until you finally realize, until you finally decide that you are the source. In the sense of, maybe I get the tuition discount, or maybe I don't. That's fine. I know I'm a great son. Maybe I make this amount of money, or maybe I don't. That's fine. I know I'm a powerful entrepreneur. I know who I am. I know I'm good enough. Maybe it's going to be a slow month. Who cares? I'm going to figure things out, right? That's knowing who you are. Yeah. Deciding in this moment that you know who you are, that you are a powerful, capable individual, that you are connected to spirit, to soul, to higher self, that you're always going to be guided and supported. That level of knowingness gives you peace, so that you don't have to obsess about getting the external thing, because you're the source. And when you operate from that knowingness, your manifestations just accelerate, because life will know, hey, if something happens that he doesn't really like or she doesn't really like, he's not going to flip out and go back to his old habits. He's still going to trust the universe. He's still going to trust his higher self. He's still going to follow the path. Because if you don't have that level of maturity and all of a sudden you get your manifestations, guess what's going to happen? You're going to experience more pain than pleasure. Because if you get $1 million right now, all of a sudden, all of your thoughts are going to be around anxiety, right? This thing happened. I got lucky. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it. What's going to happen? You're going to lose it, because you don't have the certainty that you can do it again. And instead of joy, instead of elation, maybe you're going to feel it for 5 seconds, but then you're just going to, it's going to ruin your life, then improve it, because you've placed your power outside of yourself. This is making sense, guys. Let me know if this is making sense. Beautiful. If this is, and you'd like a bit more support, there's a few links down below, and let me know in the comments what was your most valuable insight from this rant. And if you have any questions, post them in the comments below, even if you're watching the replay or if you're watching it live right now. I'll give you a few minutes to post a question and we can address that specific question. If you don't have any questions, no problem. But if you do, be happy to answer some. Awesome. I hope this was valuable. We jumped from one topic to the next, but it was fun to flow like this from one aspect to the other. So thank you for being here and allowing me to manifest this experience with you. It's beautiful. What would be relevant in the meantime? Let's see. Yeah. Also, big shout out to Trisha, Kaylin, and Amy for joining our Warrior Shaman communities, our more exclusive groups. Yeah, big welcome, and appreciate you guys for joining us and being here. And also, I think wait, I'm missing out on somebody. Just a moment. Let me quickly check. Bear with me for a bit. And of course, big welcome to Yakov. Last but certainly not least. Okay, guys, Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. And until then, have a beautiful, beautiful time being you. And remember, you're more powerful than you know.